Tom Brady has been a dominant figure in the world of football for over 2 decades now. He's a 14-time Pro Bowler, 3-time MVP, 5-time Super Bowl MVP, and 7-time Super Bowl champion. But what would that dominance look like on a baseball field? Welcome to In Terms of Baseball.
Now, the first matter of business is what stats are we going to convert into what, and how are we going to do it? So the most obvious of those is going to be converting touchdowns into home runs, his interceptions into strikeouts, his completion percentage into batting average, his touchdown percentage into slugging percentage, and his yards into hits. Now let's start there. The average MLB player with at least 550 plate appearances in the last 5 years has an average of 136 hits per year. The average quarterback over that same span has an average of 240 yards per game, or 3,840 yards a year. And using this formula on Peyton Manning's 2013 record-setting year would put him with 257 hits, tying him for second of all time. Pretty much put him right at the top of the MLB, just as he is at the top of the NFL when it comes to passing yards or hits in 1 year. Next, we need to convert a QB completion percentage into a batting average. I'll tell you, this proved to be the hardest of all of these conversions. Now, before I even say this stat, if you go by the record books, this is not the highest batting average of all time. If you go back to 1850, there were guys hitting 450. We're not including the dead ball era. Those numbers are inflated, and football doesn't even really have a reference to compare. Not only was there not an NFL, but any football that was happening at that time was not exactly pass heavy. Given that stipulation, the highest batting average of all time would be Ted Williams' 406. And the highest completion percentage of all time would be Drew Brees' 74.4%. Now, running these numbers and coming out with a conversion rate would be about 0.0055. Now, when you take just the top 2 guys, the numbers don't always work. It would mean just about every MVP every year is batting between 380 and 390. So we need to bring that number down a little bit. So here's what I ended up doing. In 2020, LA Dodgers catcher Russell Martin put up a WAR of 0.00097. The player with a WAR closest to 0 in decades. In that season, he batted 248. We're going to be using 248 as the average. Now, jumping over to football. Josh Allen in 2018 posted a QBR of 49.8, the closest to 50 of this decade. For those unfamiliar with the QBR stat, a 50 rating is a perfectly average quarterback. In that year, he had a completion percentage of 62%. That would give us a conversion rate of 0.0047. Compared to our last number of 0.0055, believe it or not, too low. Like I said, this was the most challenging one to really figure out. The best system I came up with was to do the old Goldilocks. That one was too high. This one's too low. We're going to meet them right in the middle. We're going to use a conversion rate of 0.0051. So this number makes Drew Brees' record of 74.4%, a batting average of 379. Now, going from the hardest conversion rate to figure out to the easiest, we're going to convert touchdown percentage to slugging percentage. Over the course of Tom Brady's career, from 2001 to 2020, the average touchdown percentage of a quarterback in the NFL was 4.28%. Over that same time span of 2001 to 2020, the MLB's average slugging percentage was 4.15. Rather than arguing semantics here, we're going to call that a 1-to-1 ratio. So a 4.2 touchdown percentage would be a slugging percentage of 420. From 2015 to 2019 in the MLB, 23.6% of all plate appearances resulted in a strikeout. Over that same time period, 2.3% of all passes attempted in the NFL resulted in an interception. We got another really clean one. This one's going to be a super easy conversion. So if we multiply that number by 10, we're going to get our strikeout percentage, and then we're going to average it around 600 at-bats. And lastly, we have touchdowns to home runs. Now, for most of this video, we've been using Tom Brady's career as a means of establishing boundaries on the era that we're talking about. 2001 to 2020 baseball, 2 very different sports, especially in terms of home runs. Rather than including home run totals from the early 2000s, we decided to start in 2008. The average home runs among league leaders from 2008 to 2019 was 44.7917. The average touchdowns of league leaders over that same time period was 40.3333. I always try to use touchdowns, home runs, and goals in the NHL as a 1-to-1-to-1 ratio. And unfortunately, I was wrong. That's going to be slightly different rather than we're going to have to take that touchdown number and multiply it by 1.1111. So it's a small difference, but it is technically a difference. Now with all these conversions done, let's take a look at Tom Brady, the baseball player. Tom Brady is a pure hitter. Shocker. He would have led the National League in hits in 9 different seasons and the American League in 6. His batting average would have never dipped below 300. He would have led the American League in batting average in 2016, as well as leading the National League in 4 other seasons and tying for a 5th. Now, we're not going to spend too much time on Tom Brady's slugging percentage, but what we are going to do is take a look at his OPS. So we're just going to plug in his slugging percentage here, take a look at his OPS. He would have led the majors in OPS in 2007 and 2010, and then leading the National League 2 more times after that. And now his home runs. Now, Tom Brady's home runs aren't exactly jaw-dropping numbers. He did tie with Stanton and Abreu for the lead in 2 separate years, but one season stands out a lot. Tom Brady's 2007 MVP season, he would have led the National League in hits, leading the majors in home runs. He would have led the National League in batting average. He would have led the majors in OPS and would have just 84 strikeouts. Now, the odds of making the All-Star game as a baseball player is a little bit harder than as an NFL quarterback. That being said, Tom Brady would still be a 10-time All-Star, given the numbers that he posted in each year. I'm going to steer clear championships. I don't think it's fair to just say he had 7 Super Bowls, so he would have 7 World Series. One slugger, no matter how great he is not going to go and win you a title. Anaheim. So that's going to do it for this episode of In Terms of Baseball. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this. If you have any other players that you want us to try to do, please let us know in the comments. And thanks so much for watching. Click like, click subscribe, turn your notifications on so that you can see a video as soon as it's posted. We have videos that go up every single day, and hope to see you guys next time.